A very good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Spectrum Extra, coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90, live on its website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. We are also live on the different radio listening apps, which includes TuneIn, Afromobile, Your TV channel, Radio Garden, and Stream Afrique. Those can be obtained from the Google stores of your smartphone. Download any, look for Radio 1 FM 90, and you'll be able to listen to us. There's also the other option of listening to this radio station via your TV set. That is, if you have a DSTV connection, our audio channel is 897, and on Star Times, our audio channel is 97. As it is every Friday, we review the major events of the week, and today we'll be looking at the new Electoral Commission named by President Yoweri Museveni. It was confirmed yesterday that President Yoweri Museveni had appointed a new team which will organize and manage electoral issues in Uganda. Justice Simon Byabakama was renamed chairman to be deputized by Aisha Lubega. And there are also other members, including Stephen Kashobya, who has retained his position. We saw new members actually coming in, including Robert Kasule Sebunya, a former Mnansana Municipality MP. We saw a former MP, Anthony Okello from Kyoga County. And also we saw Dr. Sally Simba Kayunga joining this team. He's from Makerere University, where he's been a lecturer. And also Pamela Etunu Okudi, who has been working with the Electoral Commission that forms the 7-member team that is now tasked with organizing and managing elections in this country. Well, there's a debate around this issue. Some people thought the system of actually appointing an Electoral Commission would change, but that's what President Yoweri Museveni has done, and there will be a vetting in Parliament, and once their names are confirmed, they will be appointed to begin serving in that particular capacity. We'll be looking at that in details and what this means for the next elections in 2026. Value for money debate about hosting summits. Well, Uganda will be hosting the non-aligned meeting starting next week, and afterwards the country will be hosting the G77 plus China summit. Now, to prepare for these meetings, government borrowed and has spent a considerable amount of money to prepare infrastructure, including a new convention center located in Muyonyo, built by the Speak Resort franchise, similar to what happened in Chogam as we were preparing to host Chogam. The government says it has also worked on several roads around Kampala, and it has also worked on a new terminal at Entebbe International Airport. They say all this will bring value to the country in terms of investments, boosting tourism, but also giving Uganda an important image at the global stage. Some stakeholders say we should just wait for these meetings to end, and we will hear about scandals and scandals. The government has urged us to remain hospitable to all the visitors who are coming and not to politicize these meetings. But it says actually on issues of accountability, there's been value for money as far as the investments that have been done. I have a panel of 4 to actually do the analysis. Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, independent UN expert on promotion of democratic and equitable international order. He's also the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative. He's a renowned human rights defender in this country. Good evening, and thank you very much for making your maiden appearance on Spectrum Extra.
Good evening, Kenneth, and good evening to our dear listeners.
Joining us in studio, Dr. Sarah Birete, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance, Pundit on Human Rights and Governance Matters. Good evening, and thank you very much once again for being with us on this platform.
Thank you for inviting me, and good evening, viewers and listeners.
In studio, Mr. Gawaya Tegule, lawyer, veteran journalist, columnist with the Daily Monitor. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Gawaya Tegule.
Pleasure, always.
And also in studio, the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the State Minister in charge of National Guidance, Government of the Republic of Uganda. Thank you very much for making time to be with us. Always, Honorable Minister.
Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here with you.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll begin with you, Mr. Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, because of your seniority in issues of elections. We know you with CEDU, which somehow is not very operational as we speak now, but because of that history, you've been around issues of elections for quite some time as an election observer, but also as an avid follower of governance issues, not only in Uganda, but on the global stage, given your capacity as an independent UN expert. President Yoweri Museveni has named a new electoral commission. Very quickly, your view on this team that has been set up and the process that has actually led us to where we are.
Since this is my maiden appearance on Radio 1
This year.
this year, I would like to wish our listeners a happy new year, and also my fellow panelists happy new year.
Thank you,
I think
Doctor.
it is very deserving. Now, speaking about the appointment of the Electoral Commission, whereas we might have our own issues and concerns, I think it is only fair that we begin by congratulating them for their appointment, because it is natural and is part of our culture that when people fall in things, we congratulate them and wish them the very best during their tenure. So I want to congratulate them. But of course, I'm also aware that some of the commissioners were entitled to a second term, because according to our constitution, I think a term is 7 years.
Yeah.
And you can serve a maximum of 2 terms. And as such, according to the discretion of the president, he has chosen to reappoint them and also to appoint new ones. But having said that, we should recall that for quite some time, we are very much interested in a public-oriented appointment process. There was a lot of advocacy and a lot of proposals were brought to Parliament regarding this matter. We had wanted for a long time that this process is not only transparent, but creditworthy and credible. And as such, we had wanted that during the process of nominating and appointing commissioners, the public should be involved. But apparently, Parliament chose what they wanted and passed those areas for reform and left others. So at the moment, the law stands that the appointing authority is the president. Now, of course, we expect that Parliament will vet the appointees, but even when this is done, we hope that, especially for those who are getting a second term, they should reflect on their performance, especially in the 2021 elections. Because I think they came in after the 2016 elections, which were spearheaded by Dr. Chigundu, I think, Badru Chigundu, and where their very first electoral process was 2021. We also know that Commissioner or Chairperson or Honorable Justice Byabakama released an electoral roadmap. So we expect that now that he has got a fresh lease of life, he should be able to oversee the implementation of that electoral roadmap. Yeah.
All right. From your analysis, what has failed to change? Because, like you said, for a long time you wanted to see us having a public way of doing things, an open way of actually doing things. What happened? How come we have not gotten that far? Some people are actually saying that for you to achieve that, you need to amend the law.
Yeah, but of course, we definitely had our proposals before Parliament, and they were very selective in their approach. They did not seek to amend this particular provision whereby the appointing authority is the president. And as such, we are stuck to the status quo. Of course, we needed to continue engage. I don't know with what possible result, but generally speaking, this is the way things are.
Right. Let's bring in Sarah. Sarah, I also know you as an election observer. You've been also engaged in the electoral activities in this country for some time. Your take on this new team?
Well, thank you, Kenneth. I will first break down the the team for the viewers, those who could have missed the names of the composition of the team. We have the Justice Byabakama as the chair, Hajat Aisha Lubega vice chair, Honorable Stephen Tashobia, the former MP on NRM ticket, as a member. We have the three have been reappointed. We have the former Nansana Municipality MP, Kasule Sebunya, NRM MP. We have the Choga County NRM MP, Anthony Okero. Why am I, and then of course the technocrat, Madam Pamela Okudi. Why am I mentioning the position of the MPs? A commission of 7 people has 3 openly partisan commissioners in a multi-party dispensation. The Article 60 of the Constitution that establishes the commission envisages an independent, professional, non-partisan commission that should be able to conduct free and fair regional elections. The mission of the Electoral Commission itself is to organize and conduct regular free and fair elections professionally, impartially, and efficiently. Do you see the 3 former NRM MPs who all lost elections the last time they attempted? Do you see them being impartial?
We can't
Do
tell.
we have any member from the other political forces in the country? The first commission of the late Stephen, he's alive. Stephen Akabai.
He's very much alive.
Sorry. My
don't kill
apologies.
him.
I was confusing him with the late Prime Minister Adebo. So the only professional commission that Uganda could celebrate under President Museveni could be the commission of Honorable Stephen Akabai. If you look at these NRM MPs, there is a clip. The last time we saw Honorable Anthony Okero, he was being chased by his voters during age limit debate, those who were against the removal of age limit. That is his last appearance in the media, being beaten by his own voters for standing for a view that they oppose. So for me, I have a problem with the composition of this commission in a multi-party dispensation. Handpicked, openly partisan, 3 members, that's half, because the chair does not vote. So you have 3 members of the commission. If there is an issue that needs voting, that will obviously take an NRM stand. You have the rest of the members also heavily NRM leaning, like the academia, Dr. Simba Kayunga, my friend. We have been in several discourses with him. He's openly NRM. He's an NRM cadre. So you have 4 members of the commission that are openly partisan. The other people, we can leave them. This is already majority NRM commission. Does this look like a commission that can conduct free and fair elections as envisaged under Article 1 and Article 60 of the Constitution? I do not think so. Dr. Livingston talked about the manner of choosing commissioners. Under the Citizens' Compact for credible, free and fair elections, the citizens had asked that under multi-party dispensation, there should be a change in the way we elect referees that decide the people to exercise power as contained under Article 1 of the Constitution. That public process, like we have in our neighboring countries like Kenya, would in a way sieve out partisan members whose position is already known, like the 4. The position of the 4 is already known. So when you have such a commission in a country where the highest court in the land has on 3 occasions pronounced elections as not free and not fair, and that they fall below the threshold set in the Constitution. We are coming from a crisis of the 2021 elections where we are still dealing with the aftermath of that election, like kidnapped persons, high levels of violence, interference of electoral process by the police and the army, among other issues. But also the people that have been confirmed, the 3 people that have been reappointed. Under their tenure, we saw a ban of CEDU, the Civil Society Election Observer Group. We saw a ban of NUU, a Civil Society Election Observer Group that was formed after the ban of CEDU. We saw the arrest of accredited civil society members while observing elections, and they were denied by the deputy chairperson of the Electoral Commission who had signed accredited letters. We saw an escalation of pre-ticked ballot papers, ballot stuffing, and I want to point to the president's letter on Bukedea by-elections, where he referred an exercise conducted by Justice Byabakama as his team, like an exercise where he was watching a film in his own letter under his own handwriting. We saw many scandals. So for me, you have the 3 reappointed members after a scandalous tenure, and then you have an addition of 3 openly partisan commissioners. What should citizens expect from such a team?
All right, let's hear from Mr. Tegule. Mr. Tegule, your take on this team, and you referenced the commission which was led by Stephen Akabuai. Just to recap, some of the people who were on that particular commission, there was a gentleman called Charles Owor, there was Mrs. Margaret Sekaja, Philip Idro, Saida Bumba, who went on to be a minister, and Azizi Kasuja, who went on to actually head the same commission after Stephen Akabuai had retired. Mr. Tegude.
I think you're talking about a commission that was there at a different time. I think the times have changed. You cannot compare the times then to what is prevailing now. I think at that time, Mr. Museveni was still giving the impression of a person who is a nationalist, who is progressive, who wants the best for this country. And those are the days when he still used to talk about what is Africa's problem, and he tells you it is about leaders who don't want to leave power. Those are the days when he would talk to you, and when people would want to listen to Museveni talking, I mean, you're going to rush home and listen to the president on air. So it was a different dispensation, really. I don't think one can properly compare. I do agree with Sarah. That was a different commission, but it was also at a different time. The pressures then were very, very much different. As a matter of fact, you ask yourself, what was the pressure facing the Akabuai Commission at the time? Of course, to be fair, some of the people there on board were really distinguished people. If you look at Stephen Akabuai, he was a person who even, I mean, if he were, had he been a judge of the Supreme Court, Akabuai would have cancelled the election of 2011, 2001 and 2006, had he been a judge on the Supreme Court, because he had a sense of fair play and he showed his independence quite a bit. I think Akabuai, again, to be fair to him, he was really up there. If you look at some of the guys like Charles Owor, bless his soul, I mean, really up there in terms of being a distinguished and honest, straight fellow. But still, like I said, the pressure was, the atmosphere was different. It was a different kind of president with a different kind of outlook. So much has changed since then. At that time, nobody ever thought that at this time would be still discussing Museveni as a candidate on the ballot paper. Maybe more than 25 years later. Yes, more than 25 years later, we didn't have that kind of, we didn't anticipate what is happening now. So the pressures, at that time, the pressure was to show that Uganda can hold a good process. And I think there was goodwill quite a bit on the part of people, international community, seeing Uganda and a new constitution going for an election for the first time since the guerrilla war that ushered Museveni to power. So the dynamics then were really different than they are now. at this time now, I think all that Mr. Museveni wants to see is his continued stay in power. That is his cardinal objective. Nothing else matters. It's not about playing free and fair. I think he has long gone past that. He doesn't really care anymore. But what he does is to maintain a semblance of democracy, to just maintain a bit of credentials, to retain a bit of credentials. But for the most part, if you look at what is happening today, I don't think he really cares about anything called free and fair. As long as he can point out there was somebody, one of Museveni's girls who was quoted on Twitter, I think she was on NBS or NTV, saying, there is the evidence of democracy is that we hold elections every 5 years. And somebody commented that she was not very, very bright. I thought that was not a very charitable comment, but it tells you how people are seeing through this facade and saying that just because we're having elections doesn't mean there is democracy. So I don't think that the commission then had the same pressures as this one has now. Right. I don't think the Museveni of then was the Museveni of now. So right. Things have changed quite a bit.
All right. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear from the Honorable Minister to actually tell us, maybe they discussed these issues in Cabinet, what actually could have informed the decision of the President to come up with this type of lineup. Are they people that we should trust? Should we give them a benefit of doubt? Maybe they can deliver differently from what people have been saying. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. Spectrum Extra continues after this break.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Extra. We're live on Radio 1 FM 90, reviewing the major events of the week. I have a panel of 4, and at the moment we are looking at the new team nominated by President Yoweri Museveni. Their names have been sent to Parliament for vetting so that they can become members of the Electoral Commission. On the panel, Mr. Gawaya Tegule, a lawyer and veteran journalist, Dr. Sarah Birete, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance, Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, the independent UN expert on promotion of a democratic and equitable international order, founder of the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative. And now coming on the mic is the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, who is the State Minister in charge of national guidance in the Republic of Uganda. Honorable Minister, this team that has been nominated by President Yoweri Museveni, your take.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. First of all, just like Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, let me congratulate these men and women who have been appointed to serve on the Electoral Commission for another for 7 years. Those ones who have come back, congratulations, and those ones who have come on the commission for the first time, I also congratulate them. I would like to say one thing. First of all, the President, in his wisdom, has appointed these people. On whether he consulted the cabinet or not, first of all, the law doesn't say he should consult cabinet. It is his prerogative to appoint. And but obviously he makes consultations with some stakeholders. I don't think he just comes up with names like that. But the law doesn't talk about consultation. And there's also one thing we should know, that conducting a free and fair election and these issues of impartiality, whether these men and women who have been appointed will be impartial or not. The issue of impartiality is about integrity and honesty. Any person can be impartial so long as he has integrity and is honest. But to say that an NRM person can't be impartial, it might be generalization.
Can you score in your own goal?
Yes, if
without an unnecessary pressure.
if you
You're
are
given an
if,
opportunity.
for instance, you are a referee
Mm.
and you are a trained referee and a professional one, and you have accepted to be a referee, and I think you have taken an oath of a referee, whether you are Manu or Arsenal, Villa or Express, you will go to judge, and you can't say you can't cancel a goal which has been scored.
Well, you can on technicalities,
But
you can create a situation where the goal does not count.
no. I think
You can, as a
and
referee.
these days,
Mm.
but if you do that, then you are totally unprofessional. And these days, that's why they even have replays. What do they call them in football? You watch football, they replay and
VAR.
see, exactly, and see whether you were fair. It is there now.
But
So,
we have reached a point
yeah.
we have reached a point in football where even VAR is not being trusted. We have seen VAR doing changing what some people think would be actually genuine,
and if
genuine
it is,
goals.
If it's not trusted, something else will
because
come.
it's still manipulated by individuals.
Yes, processes always have to be upgraded from time to time. Even the electoral law must be reviewed from time to time. And I think that's what Dr. Livingston was talking about. Even the electoral law must be reviewed from time to time. Because the world changes every day. The world changes every day. So you can't have a static law.
All right.
Even an electoral law.
You had Sarah making it a point that these are NRM people. They are not likely to change anything that does not favor President Yoweri Museveni, because he's the appointing authority, he's the chairman of the NRM. They are well-known NRM people, card holders, and as such, they would work for the survival of their political party.
Yes, they are NRM people. The society has so many people. They are NRM people, they are new people, they are Protestants, they are Catholics, and we must speak from that society. We must speak from that society.
Do they necessarily have to be politicians?
But is there any law which says a politician shouldn't be an electoral commissioner? Is there any law which says someone who has ever been an MP on an NRM ticket shouldn't be an electoral commissioner? I have told you there's one thing that we need, integrity and honesty. As soon as you are NRM and you are appointed a commissioner, you should know that you are going to work to do the work of a commissioner,
all right,
not a work of an NRM cadre. Or else you decline and go to NRM secretariat and do mobilization.
No, I think, Kenneth, our issue with that has been that even though I agree with what Honorable Minister is saying, that integrity is really a personal thing. You can have integrity. You can tell your own child that, what you're doing is wrong, and therefore I'm going to punish you for this, even though this is your child. I do agree with the Honorable Minister, but I think the record that we have for the Electoral Commission is not a good one. And over the years, actually ever since the Ekaboy Commission, we've not had a proper commission that demonstrates that they are committed to a free and fair election. I think that is where we're having an issue. There is a consistent track record of clear bias on the part of the commission. And number two, there's also a consistent track record of Mr. Museveni and his establishment not willing to let the commission at any rate operate independently. And therefore, if we're talking about nation building, if you're trying to say we want to build our democracy, take the country forward, there are things we would like to see. One of those is a non-partisan commission, an impartial commission, something that is, you can see on the face of it, looks like it is impartial, but on the face of it, this one clearly looks like a committee from the NRM Chadondo Road.
So you have the view that an impartial electoral commission should be comprised by people who are not politicians. Is that your view?
That is one. If not, if you bring politicians on board, then let every camp bring somebody. And I think that has been the cry from the opposition for all this time, that let us be represented, so that once the people who control the electoral process represent also the various shades of political opinion, then the likelihood of a process being hijacked gain lessons, and people will also be comfortable that I think this commission, we can have, from the composition, we can have confidence in the process, prima facie.
All right. Honorable Minister, would you like to conclude?
Yes,
And then we bring in Dr.
I
Sewanyana.
agree with my brother Tegule. But what does the law say? That's where the problem is. If really want all political dispensations to be represented, then the law must what?
Must be adhered to.
But so long as the law has not yet changed, and the president still has the prerogative to choose from all Ugandans, men and women of integrity and honest ones to serve, it will be done. And then lastly, let us also not blame the commission in totality. Because I think it is again my brother Tegule who say, this is a system. Because the commissioners don't even tally. They actually read what has been tallied.
But they supervise their staff.
But yeah, that one, I'll come to that. Yes, they do supervision. But they are not going to supervise. You know, there are 7 commissioners. They are not going to supervise up to the polling station. So all these are issues which we have been talking about here. People not being responsible at every stage of their responsibility. Otherwise, the commission now is carrying a heavy load, probably of problems which are not of their own making,
all right,
which come from them. But lastly, we need civic education. I think what has also been lacking in the commission is for them to do enough civic education.
All right.
Yeah, because right now they have released the roadmap, but nobody is even talking about the roadmap. Probably those men and women like Sarah, who are always on WhatsApp, who read the newspapers, who have radios and TVs. And TikTok. They are the ones who know the roadmap, and then Kenneth. But I'm telling you, we need a lot of civic education so that people can even know what their roles and responsibility in electioneering is. But we leave it to the Saras. And then
all right, you're the people who make the budget. One of the entities that is supposed to do civic education is actually the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And when you look at that particular aspect, it's never funded. But let's hear from Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana. Is it possible that we are looking at the wrong people? These are mere figureheads. They are commissioners. But behind them, there are people who actually do the real day-to-day running of the commission. And eventually, they are the ones who tally and provide what is actually declared. Are we right to actually focus on only the saving?
I think the Honourable
when
Minister
discussing
indirectly,
even Mr. Tegule brought it forward.
Yeah, indirectly makes a reference to the fact that we have a system. And I think you need to interrogate that system.
That statement of a system.
And that system definitely would go down to the village, to every polling official. But the ultimate responsibility lies in the commission itself, because it's the one entrusted under the Constitution to ensure that we have free, fair, and inclusive elections. So when they fail, they definitely cannot escape the blame. And for me, what is important at this stage is that now that they have been appointed, one, they need to appreciate that they did not do a good job in 2021. They need to appreciate that we had a sham election.
What were the shortfalls on the side of the Electoral Commission in that election?
I think Sarah highlighted quite a number.
I want to hear from you. What did you put in your report?
There are very many. By the way, starting with the shutdown of the internet. You recall that there was a shutdown of the internet. In 2016, we had a partial one. In 2021, we had a complete shutdown of the internet. That alone is enough, even if you don't interrogate other things, because what does that mean? You restrict the freedom of expression,
elections in darkness,
association. You no longer have information being evaluated. That alone is enough, even if you don't go into the conduct, even if you don't talk about the tallying, even if you don't, the mere fact that Ugandans were denied the opportunity, to know what is going on during that time, that alone was bad enough. But beyond that, of course, you saw how opposition candidates were treated, the failure to adhere to the guidelines that were issued by the Electoral Commission. You saw quite a bit of that. And generally speaking, a free and fair election can be felt. You see, you don't even need to prove it. I have observed elections in very many countries. You can feel it, that this one was really free and fair. You don't even need a lot of indicator. You just feel it. The fact is, Ugandans felt the 2021 elections fell below the accepted standard. So my charge for the newly appointed commission is that they are starting from a premise of poor performance. So they need to reflect, benchmark, and ask themselves a very important question, because some of them will be retiring after, because this is their second term. How will they be judged by Ugandans? Now we have been judging Akabwai. I'm sure you have judged Kasuja Alhaj. You have judged Badru Chigundu. I'm sure we are now judging Byabakama 2. This was Byabakama 1. Byabakama 2. The question now is, in our history, how do they want to be judged?
Who cares?
They should care.
Do they care?
They should.
That's what I'm asking.
They may not care, but they should care. I think it's important that they care. If they don't care, then they don't deserve what they are given, because ultimately you accept, you even take an oath of allegiance. Therefore, you should behave in a manner expected of you and deliver a result that the people expect.
Dr. Sawanyana, you had a tug of war with this, with the previous electoral commission, and to the extent that you were not allowed as civil society to actually observe the elections. Do you think this is likely to improve going forward? Have you made amends?
I think Tagule made a very interesting statement. He said the contexts differ. Maybe during that time, we could have been partially allowed, but there is also the danger that we could be completely denied the opportunity because of the context.
Yes.
You are dealing with a system that, as the Honourable Minister has stated, which is obviously looking at continuity. And of course, continuity should not be seen in a wrong perspective.
By all means.
Because continuity, everyone needs continuity. Life needs continuity. Institutions deserve continuity. Regimes aspire continuity. The continuity is even in the academia. We expect you that after you have got a doctorate, you go for a postdoctorate. So continuity should not be seen as a bad thing, as long as that continuity reflects the interests of the people.
Yeah, but Ken, on that one, I think there's something he mentioned about internet going off, mobile money going off. I mean, things that surround the electoral process, I think, again, show why we need to interrogate the role of the electoral commission even better. Should the commission have a say in how the periphery, not periphery, okay, the circumstances around the election are managed? Should the election keep quiet when internet is off? Should the electoral commission, keep quiet when the internet is off, mobile money is off, people can't transact, they can't communicate, and then the commission still thinks it is in charge of the country, it's in charge of the process? I think there's need for reflection on this one, and I think the commission owes us a duty as a nation to speak out in times like this. Bibakama should have come on and said, you know what, you cannot switch off the internet. We need this thing to be seen to be free and fair, and part of the freedom and fairness is people being able to communicate, to run around, to spend money, to get money. I mean, people should transact ordinarily. Just because we're voting doesn't mean that all systems should be shut down. I mean, we are, like Sarah said, we're doing everything in the dark.
All right. Those questions were asked to Justice Simon Byabakama, issues to do with the the army, involvement of the army in some of the activities and even shutting down the internet. For the army, he said we should ask the UPDF, and then for the internet, we should ask the Uganda Communications Commission. Let's hear from Dr. Sarah Bireti.
Well, I think for me,
Are we focusing on the wrong people? Probably it's a bigger thing that we need to look at.
no, I think every citizen should take personal responsibility of their conduct. When an individual is appointed as a chair of the Electoral Commission, there is a job to be done. That job is specified in the Constitution. If you feel that you are incapable of executing that job, you should be dignified enough to resign. So I will not at any moment create any excuse for the failures of Justice Byabakama and his team, because if he feels he was overrun by the army, like it is my view, if he feels he was overrun by cadres in the system, if he feels, because at one time media asked him where he was getting results from, and before all cameras at the National Talent Center, he showed in ignorance of where the transmission of results was coming from. And he said he's reading what he has been given. And at one time even whispered and said, is this correct? Yet the regulations demand that he verifies before announcement. So if he feels that he is incapable of doing the simple basics of conducting a free and fair election, he should respect himself and resign. Failure of that, citizens should not create any excuse for his failures, for his shortcomings, for his imperfections in abusing electoral systems in this country.
All right, Dr. Sarah, from the process of actually appointing these commissioners, it's not only the mandate of the president. We have the appointments committee in parliament, people's representatives, which means that Ugandans are getting involved in the process. What about that? Isn't that enough to actually help us deal with the issues that you're pointing out? Probably in parliament, they might raise these issues and overturn the appointments.
Yes, of course, the generation of democracy has not left parliament standing. Parliament ideally should be a temple of democracy in this country. But what parliament are we talking about?
The 11th parliament.
They recently approved.
They will be the one vetting.
Approved the supplementary budget in 30 minutes or so of 3.5 trillion.
Well, they were
okay, yes. I'm just showing you the nature of parliament we have. We have laws that are approved in 6 days. Less than the 45 days consultation mentioned in their own rules of procedure. We have a constitutional court decision that has said the head of that institution did not conduct herself in accordance with the rules of the institution. So what parliament are we talking about? Do you expect it to do the actual veto as envisaged in the constitution? They are just a rubber stamp.
Mr. Taguli, should we trust the Ugandan parliament to actually handle this matter in the right way and give us a credible electoral commission?
I think we don't have a parliament as we speak. What we have of the 530-something people that are in the House, I think maybe only about 50 of them are actually active and useful. The rest really are not, don't really exist for all intents and purposes. I don't see Parliament coming up to say, you know, these people, there's a reason we should not confirm this new commission. There is no reason, there is no way. And besides, they've shown over the years that once it is a presidential decision taken, they don't have the wherewithal, the intellectual wherewithal, just the guts, even the guts to say, you know what, Mr. President, we think this is wrong and we're rubbishing this. I mean, Parliament has no record of defying the president and getting out with it and saying, no, we're going to succeed on this one. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Honorable Minister.
Yes.
Parliament.
We have a parliament. A parliament which was elected by the people.
So are you laughing? So are you laughing?
I'm laughing.
Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because my brother Teguri is one of the people who participated in electing a parliament. He's now saying we don't have a what?
A parliament.
And yet he has a member of parliament representing him. You know, and a parliament, these are people who were elected from all Ugandans. They participated. And they're in parliament representing all of us. Let us have confidence in them. And this committee is going to be placed before them, all these personalities. And they are going to vet them. So if you are Sarah and you don't want any one of these, look for your MP. Who can if he's not a member of the appointment committee, probably that MP can give that information to any of the members of the appointment committee.
All right. Spectrum Extra
so,
on Radio 1 FM 90.
Let us not be demeaning our own institutions.
All right. Let's hear from Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana. Parliament, do you have trust in them to do a good job when it comes to vetting these members who have been appointed?
Well, it's not a matter of trust. I think they have a duty to ensure that they scrutinize the appointees.
What should they look out for?
Yeah, first of all, their performance records. Because there are other things the minister should know. Have you been vetted, Honorable Minister?
Oh, yes, I was vetted.
Because I've never been vetted, so it's not very easy for me. But I would imagine that they look at the requirements, the qualifications they should have, and their performance records, and, you know, competence and so on. But the point is, I think what Tagula is saying, rarely do you ever experience a situation of satisfaction in terms of vetting. There have been also issues concerning the composition of the appointments. I think is it the
Committee.
Appointments of Parliament that also sometimes it is not very well constituted in order to provide.
It's based on numerical strength.
Yeah, to provide you know, the sort of results that we have. But for me, in all situation, I would like to charge them with the duty to ensure that whoever is appointed is verified, and they need to understand that they have a role to play, and that role is to ensure that they deliver a commission that can organize free, fair and inclusive elections.
All right, Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear from the listener. Comments are coming in via the WhatsApp line 0703-090-090. We'll get these comments on air and the panelists will respond. And we'll move on to our next topic, where we'll be looking for value for money as far as hosting of summits is concerned, given the fact that we'll be hosting NAM Summit next week, and then that will be closely followed by the G77 plus China Summit that we shall also be hosting as a country. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. Spectrum Extra will continue after this break.
Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90. Spectrum Extra, Fridays 7 to 9 p.m. on Radio 1 FM 90.
Thank you for staying with us. Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM 90, reviewing the major events of the week. We've just been looking at the new Electoral Commission, which was appointed by President Yoweri Museveni. Shortly, we'll be moving on to look at value for money debate as far as hosting summits is concerned, taking into account the fact that we are hosting G77 plus China Summit and the NAM meeting, which will be starting next week. We have had a history of hosting summits here, including CHOGM, but after CHOGM, there are questions that followed, including what people called the CHOGM scandal. We already have comments that have come in. Samuel Mary, listening in from Nam Londo Zone in Bwegere. We say thank you, Mr. Thank you, Ms. Kenneth, for the show and the panelists. The first mistake was done by the 1995 Constitution framers, giving President powers over everything. In this way, amendment of the Constitution is needed. I don't see any transparency in the Electoral Commission. All those appointed can't be impartial because they are NRM cadres who will want to please their boss. How do you expect a monkey to preside over a case involving a forest? Africa still has a long way to to go. We also have another comment. Tell the Honorable Minister that their the VAR is operated by the topmost powers, and it cannot change anything in this game. What gives us peace is the fact that they always see the EC conducts a free and fair election, not good or best. So to a local man like me, I move along and the winner and I move along with the winner, and life goes on no matter who controls the electoral process. Then we have another comment here, and it comes in from Apollo, who actually suggests that we need also to look at how electoral commissions of individual political parties are actually appointed, and that the problem probably is much bigger than at the national level. Well, those are some of the comments that are actually coming in from the listeners. And I'll begin with you, Mr. Tegule. Would you like to comment on any of this? Samuel actually saying the problem begins with the framers of the Constitution in 1995. The president has too much power over everything. Do you agree with that feeling?
I think there was a feeling at the time of the making of the Constitution that there would be respect for the Constitution, and that it didn't matter which president came in, they would still have all that power and still go away. I think the problem with the Constitution is that the person with all that power is not going away. He has refused to go away. He has amended the Constitution to make sure that he stays in power. I think that's why we're having a problem. So at that time, the thing was much different. And like I said, we all fell for a great deception as a country. The Museveni that came in 1986 was a really nice guy. He was Mr. Nice Guy, talking great, very philosophical. It was kind of like a courtship. I think we're seeing like the difference between a courtship and a marriage. When the man is courting you, he's speaking nice to you, taking you out for coffee, chocolate, cafe javas, wichi. He's making sure your hair is okay. He's buying you all the nice things, and really you're feeling cool. And then when the marriage is secured like this, before the honeymoon is over, the slaps have begun. And I think that is where we as a country, initially we fell for a big deception. We say, this is the man that we've been waiting for. And then now many of us are wishing the wind that blew him here could blow him away, because the country is in deep trouble in the sense that this man doesn't even care about the Constitution. All he cares is, can it serve his interest? So that was the feeling at the time, Kenneth, and we must bear that in mind. We all thought that this man who is presiding over the process of making the Constitution would respect it. Turned out we were wrong.
Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, any response to the comments that the listeners have put across?
I think the comments are rather pertinent. They speak to a situation that we are experiencing, and it's true. Many analysts have argued that the Constitution itself gives too much power to the presidency. Actually, the presidency that we have is described as the imperial presidency, meaning that he is the alpha and the omega. And as such, in the exercise of his powers, he rarely has checks and balances. And I think that's the very reason there have been persistent calls for a review of the Constitution, even after the Sempewa Review Commission. We still think that those powers are too broad. They need to be limited. And as such, he has this unfettered discretion to make decisions as he wishes. But of course, we also need to bear in mind what nature of governance you have, because sometimes we may discuss some of these matters not mindful of what happens elsewhere, because I've also seen many countries where powers are entrenched, but equally where they are entrenched and you find that the other institutions like Parliament are equally strong. So there is a very strong exchange between the different players, which doesn't seem to be the case here. So, yeah, I think they are raising very valid and pertinent concerns.
All right, we have more points coming in. Okello Patrick Bonyo from Busega. The referee has been chosen by a player. The match will be fixed. I suggest the opposition should just focus on increasing MPs so that they may change some of such laws where the president is the sole appointing authority. Somebody from Rubanda, Agrem Singuzi, Rubanda West Rice, said we need a redefinition of democracy in Africa because of our historical background. Watasa, not Moses, says thanks for the program. Parliament can't overturn or reject any of those appointed. Believe me, it's just the beginning for Ugandans to cry again. Wait and see what will happen when it comes to voting for the president and members of parliament.
Why are you saying not Moses? Not Moses?
Now, according to political history, the president himself cannot select the electoral committee, and you expect another presidential contestant to win. That's impossible in Uganda. It's only here in Uganda where we see political fountain of comedy and recurring dictatorship. Uganda is still bleeding unless there is change of government. We have another comment listening to Dr. Sewanyana talking in tongues when asked how he thinks after being denied to observe elections. What do you expect Byabakama to do differently? Somebody is asking you. Anderson, you have a good panel, the subject of composition and approval of the EC. When you have an extremely powerful executive where parliament and other institutions pale things, where parliament and other institutions are pale, things go wrong, including the EC, and even if it was less of suitable people. State capture has a lot of ramifications for governance. And then somebody else writes and says, Spectrum Extra, it does not necessarily represent the people. For example, does Rico represent the people of Soroti East? Does Anita Among represent the people of Kedia? Because she secured herself unopposed without the people's vote. So that electoral commission does not represent the people. A number of comments still coming in. Very quickly, let's respond. Dr. Sarah Bireta, and we'll hear from the minister, then move on to our next topic of discussion.
Yeah, there were comments about the constitution and powers of the president, and in an implied manner, of course, the validity of our parliament, or whether it has power to protect the constitution. The Museveni regime has gradually rewritten the people's constitution. If you get the 1995 constitution, original as adopted by the Constituent Assembly as promulgated on the 8th of October 1995, 28 years ago, you look at the spirit of the constitution. What is remaining of that constitution as part of the spirit of the constitution is Article 1, which is currently under threat with a proposal to have parliament electing a president that the NRM parliament is hiding under their wraps, and they want to take everybody by surprise because they know the experience of going all over the country is no longer nice for them. So once that article is tampered with, fortunately it's entrenched, meaning that anybody who wants to change from adult suffrage for presidents or parliament, you have to go and face the people. It is not about taking money to buy of MPs as usual. Term limits were bought off with a famous bribe of 5 million at Mosa courts. The price rose higher slightly with the 83 million we kept seeing in papers during the removal of age limit. But I don't know whether you put in inflation from 2005 to 2017. I don't know whether the price changed much or not. But when it comes to the man of elections, anybody planning that final assault on the spirit of the Constitution, you have to deal with citizens individually. Yeah, whether we can then have a say or not, it will remain to be seen.
All right, let's hear from your Honorable Minister, your take on the comments that have come in from the listeners.
My take on the comments is the framers of the Constitution in 1995 were okay. That's what was pertaining at that material time. And just as I've told you, democracy is like any other, you know, things keep changing,
Evolving.
So right now, just as Dr. Livingston has said, there's need to review this law.
What has changed in your view from the time the constitution was made and today,
to match the time,
as far as democracy is concerned?
Now you can see now how technology has improved. Technology has improved thoroughly well. Yes. So whatever law was guidelines were put in place that time, they may not work now. They still work, but somehow they are becoming obsolete.
Let's look at the people who actually came up with the constitution. Like you said, things have changed. What has changed?
Because now you are thinking about...
We still have the same president.
You are now thinking about all political parties should be represented. But you should
on
know,
the commission.
Yes, but you should know in 1995, there were no political parties. You're getting me? There were no political parties. The constitution brought in the movement system of governance. And now we changed to multi-party dispensation. So we needed also to look at the composition probably of electoral commission. You're getting me? So all those
But
are
still
things
we had inter-party political forces cooperation, if you remember that time, the IPFC.
And we have also had...
The Mogeres were there, my good friend Anthony Sequoyama, bless his soul, they were there. The Milton Obote side was there.
Yes.
So we still had opposition, and we still had opposition groupings.
Yes, but parties were not there. You're getting me?
They were not there in name, but
Yes.
they were there in actuality.
They were not allowed.
UPC was there,
They-
DP was there,
They were not allowed to operate.
and
So
even CP.
they were more or less not there because they were not allowed to operate. But now they are operating. They are operating. They are in parliament. They are this thing in the parliament. You know that this is new.
And you're busy buying them off with our money.
Buying them off is the strategy.
With our money.
No.
With taxpayers' money.
Buying them off.
Honorable Minister.
Buying
Is
them
a
off
strategy.
to
With
come
taxpayers'
to
money.
NRM.
It's a strategy.
It's a
I
strategy.
had the meeting that you buy of people using taxpayers'
I
money.
mean, if you are cheap, we buy you.
With
Using
what money?
taxpayers' money.
No, look here.
Honorable Minister.
If
You're using taxpayers' money
you are
to
there
buy political opponents
and
off.
exposed, I will buy you to come back to NRM. Let me tell you, democracy is a quantitative function.
Honorable Minister,
Whoever has the numbers wins.
That is not
Minister,
true.
you need to clarify.
But democracy at its most genuine is
need-
qualitative.
No.
You need to clarify this.
Because even if you are the best,
What kind of
The
buying?
best
What kind of buying are you referring to?
I-
I want people to
me,
understand it
the
clearly.
kind of buying I'm saying, I was looking at people being convinced to come back to what? To NRM.
Oh,
Yes,
That's what you call buying.
that's what you call buying in this context.
in this context. But let us see.
Using billions of taxpayers' money.
Let us concentrate on on the commission.
All right.
On the commission.
Spectrum Extra.
What I'm saying
FM 90.
is, sincerely, the framers of this constitution at that material time, you can't blame them. That was
We are
the
not
idea.
blaming them. We are blaming
That's
the
the idea.
amendments.
But we need to look at this electoral law and see whether the law we had in 1995, whether it can still match the new
Dispensation.
trends. Exactly. And that one I would like to, I support whoever feels there's need for an amendment
All
in
right.
the electoral law.
All right.
That one I support in totality.
All right, we need to move on to our next topic. Uganda will be hosting the non-aligned meeting starting next week. After that, we'll have the G77 plus China meeting. And of course, the debate is on whether we are going to benefit from these meetings and the likely outcome. People are thinking we might have a scandal because of the way resources have been handled. But the government actually saying the country is going to benefit much more in terms of diplomatic dividends. We are also going to get investments, but also we are going to get tourists who are likely to flock into our country during and even after this particular summit. So I'll begin with you, Dr. Sarah Birete. Your take on this debate, Uganda hosting, competing with other countries and emerging winner to actually host these countries, and then the debate that follows.
Well, I think it's a good thing for a country to host international meetings like CHOGM, like the Commonwealth Speakers Conference that has just ended, NAM, but also the AFCON matches where we have the bid with the other East African countries. It's a good thing. But given the historical functions of the non-aligned movement, NAM, as established in 1961 in Yugoslavia, by then established to create a neutral force between the two power centers during Cold War era, the Soviet Union and the United States. What's its relevance today? Has it recreated itself enough to be a prestigious group beyond the numbers, beyond the airport movements? Is it a prestigious group to belong to? Is it prestigious, for example, to take over the chairmanship of NAM as a country? Because hosting comes with its benefits.
We'll be
when
hosting.
you are a chairman of NAM, G77 plus, are you able to influence things in a better way? Because the advantages that accrue from hosting, the immediate one is assuming the leadership of that group. The other immediate advantage is the visibility of the country. We have passed through the Serena Nile Avenue. People are busy planting grass even at this time.
Planting grass?
Yes.
For the summit?
Yes.
Hybrid. Honorable Minister, is this correct?
Yes.
You guys make us look like jokers, Honorable Minister. Really? No. You have one heck of a government.
Yeah, there is grass. There is grass that can be planted today.
Okay,
and
but
when you
the
pass there
question
tomorrow,
is-
It is fully grown.
it is fully grown.
Kenneth, the question is, why do you wait to mop your house when visitors are coming? Are you really a responsible citizen at an individual level if you stay in a dirty house? From
I had to
Monday
say,
to
Kenneth, for the
Sunday?
minister. I think that's a question for the minister, really.
Okay, I was answering, but
all of
what
us.
all of
No. I think
Yeah.
that should go to the
Yes.
minister.
So what we are
These are the
exhibiting,
guys who still cabinet and make the decision.
what we are exhibiting in our stage managed show up as a normal city is to show that the leadership, which is represented here on this panel, knows that they live in a dirty house on a day-to-day basis, and they rush to mop when visitors are coming. Very unfortunate. We have covered potholes in one side of the state. But I've been to some of these such high-profile meetings like summits. You are not going to rock visitors in a stage-managed roads where you've covered potholes. They want to see Kampala, so they will come to the potholes. Some of them want to go to Namugongo Shrine. Those who wish to go to the Martyrs Shrine, the roads going to Namugongo Shrine are a mess. Some of them want to go to industrial area to dance in the night. There are potholes all over towards the New Vision and other areas. So covering one part of Kampala and putting cosmetic grasses everywhere does not help the situation. Can we live in a clean house on a daily basis as a country? Can we stop waiting for visitors to clean up? There is a celebration or a misunderstanding that the airport and the clock tower flyovers were rehabilitated for NAM. That's wrong. These are 5-year projects that have been running and have nothing to do with NAM.
I had the Lord Mayor
They've just been opened at the time of NAM, but they were not meant for NAM. So NAM has not improved that infrastructure. It has just taken advantage of that infrastructure, and most of it on heavy loans. I hope they were spent well. Both of them, the airport has a Chinese loan, the flyover has a World Bank loan.
We know
and
how
JICA. I
we know how we handle our
I had the
loans.
Lord Mayor saying the loans are from JICA, the
Some of
Japanese
them-
government.
Yeah, some of them, but the airport has a Chinese loan where even our collections are going in an escrow account in Exim Bank at the airport. But it's good to host. So what other benefits should we be benefiting, getting from such hosting? If we were organized enough, I'm glad I've seen the private sector trying to organize. I know the women have a side event at the summit. What income that accrues from such people who are coming here? I have seen the investment authority saying they'll make sure they sign up $100 million. I know they signed up so many volumes of documents during the Dubai summit, but how many investors have come here? So I think we should move away from that excitement of piling paper, which easily turns into rubbish. Can we quantify in terms of money?
All right.
What have we benefited?
All right, let's hear from Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana. You've widely traveled. You've seen how other countries organize even some of the conferences that you have attended. But also we have this unending debate. Every time we have this kind of meetings, there will be a discussion and probably an investigation thereafter for value for money.
I think I will start by reiterating what Dr. Sarah Vireta has said. It's always a prestigious moment for a nation to host such a big summit. And actually it takes a lot of lobbying within the United Nations, within the different bodies for one to host a summit, whether you are hosting the G7, G20, G77, AU or non-aligned movement. So when the decision was made in Azerbaijan that Uganda was going to host both summits, it seemed like it was a very big and important moment for Uganda. So what shocks me though is the level of preparation. I had expected, because this information has been available for quite some time.
Or you mean the lack of it?
Yes, 2019.
No, I mean
We knew for long that
within
we'll be
the state
hosting this
machinery.
summit.
Oh, yes.
Not within the public, that Uganda was going to host these events. Actually, during some of the sessions I attended in the United Nations, there was already exchange about Uganda and the fact that it was going to host these summits. I would have expected that would be really very well prepared, like what other countries have done. For example, let me compare this to what happened with Qatar, with the World Cup. Last year I was at the Doha conference on climate change in Qatar. And one thing, Qatar has been completely transformed.
I thought you were talking about the World Cup in Qatar. So I was like, Sonia, in the World Cup, this is the first.
No, I'm saying that when Qatar hosted the World Cup, it has completely transformed Qatar into a first-class nation. Actually, sometimes you would be even at odds to compare the US or UK or whichever country with Qatar now. Qatar is much more modern, very transformed, and is attracting, tourists in I don't know whether in hundreds or thousands. It has become a completely modern state. One would expect that with the hosting of this summit, 2 summits actually, Uganda would have also such an opportunity to transform itself. Unfortunately, when you look at the level of preparations, when you look at the level of awareness, it doesn't seem like we are well prepared for this. How can you just start talking about Entebbe, flyover, the convention center? Let me tell you, countries get completely transformed. It's not just about a few areas bordering the city. No, actually, everything changes in the way business is done, multinationals move in, and all that happens. So it is an opportunity. Unfortunately, that may not deliver on its prospects. But however, we need to welcome it, and we hope that along the way, there will be, of course, opportunities for exchange of agreements. There will be opportunities for trade and investment. There will be opportunities for, tourism. Hopefully, and I'm saying hopefully, because you see, all of these can only be realized against the background of a country's performance. It is also one thing for delegates to come in and fly out. It's another thing for delegates to come in and express interest. that they will want to invest in that particular country. So you need to make a distinction between the two. On one hand, it is expected that, delegates will come in and, of course, take the opportunity to explore and find opportunities for investment. But still, if they do not feel that you have something to offer, they can also still fly in and fly out, which again has its own disadvantage in the sense that you have invested a lot of money and you may not recoup that money. So in many ways it's an opportunity, but on the other hand, we hope that notwithstanding the level of preparedness and the history behind some of these events, that maybe we may reap. Sometimes I'm not. I prefer to be less optimistic, because you may not even know how much, for example, this offers, because the amount of information is also very limited. The other day, I was commenting on this issue, and I was saying that how many Ugandans really know about this forthcoming summit? What do they know about what is potential contribution? This seems not have been brought out very well. So I think I would challenge the Honorable Minister that maybe in your next cabinet meeting, you agree on a very robust strategy to help Ugandans understand this, because it is now a restricted event. It's more of an event of a few. Even posters are not forthcoming. You see one somewhere along. You had it to these other countries that have held these summits, my friend. They devote a whole year, just discussing, exposing, creating opportunities, which doesn't seem to be the case with these summits.
Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going for a break. When we return, we'll hear from Mr. Gawaya Tegule, and then we also hear from the Minister, Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, as we wind up the discussion on Spectrum Extra here, reviewing the major events of the week. But right now, we are looking at value for money, the debate that is going on as far as hosting of summits is concerned. Keep the comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Radio 1 FM 90. We are live on our website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word listen live. Radio 1 is also live on the different radio listening apps: TuneIn, AfroMobile, YoTV channel, Radio Garden, and Streamer Freak. You can also find us on DSTV audio channel 897, and on StarTimes audio channel there is 97. My name is Kenneth Lukwagandason, your host. My guest this evening, Mr. Gawaya Tegule, lawyer and veteran journalist, is a columnist with the Daily Monitor. Dr. Sarah Birete, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance. Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, the independent UN expert on the promotion of a democratic and equitable international order, is the founder of the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, and the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the State Minister in charge of national guidance. Let me come to you, Mr. Gawaya Tegule. Hosting NAM and G77 Plus China Summit, and the debate that's going on about benefits and accountability of value for money.
I think let's not discuss accountability. We shall have better stories about accountability when the summits are over, and the mafia have failed to share the money properly, and then each one will be reporting on the other. We shall have accusations and counter-accusations. Then I'm sure the IGG will be taking interest, police will be taking interest, and then anti-corruption court will get a little bit busy, hopefully. That's when we shall discuss accountability properly. I think for now, let us first let it pass. But there's something I wanted to talk about in this regard, Ken, because in 2027 we shall be hosting the Africa Cup of Nations together with Kenya and Tanzania. And okay, we've talked about it, but there's now not even a single move. We have 3 years, but believe me, they'll wait until 2026 after the election, then we shall begin panicking. I can guarantee you, somebody will tell the president, I can build for your stadium in 3 months, the size of Nambole, and he'll get the money to do it. So my disappointment is that...
Supplementary budget.
Yes, there will be supplementary budget and everything. So just remember the Chogam thing when we were hosting Chogam. Somebody got money to build a Chogam hotel within a matter of weeks, and then you know how the story ended. I don't know how these guys think. I don't know what kind of country we have, but that's the disappointment we must come terms with. Let us learn to prepare, because like we've talked here before, up to now they're planting grass in time for the NAM summit. Grass, you're planting grass today for the summit, which has arrived. I mean, the advanced are already here, and for you planting grass. And then, I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame, the lack of planning, the lack of strategy, the lack of intellect put into this thing, lack of investment of energy, effort, and intellect into this whole project is shaming. I think as a country, we need to learn to prepare so that we can get the fullest benefit of hosting that comes with hosting international events like this one. It's a big thing to host the NAM summit. I mean, Non-Aligned Movement has 120 countries, and that's the second biggest gathering after the UN. That means this is a big deal in the sense that just the numbers. I mean, the weight, you can question the weight, but the numbers, there's no question about the numbers. I think we got the numbers. So we can take advantage of this. And then we see, but you see, we cannot benefit like Sarah and Livingston have said, if we're not prepared to reap the benefits. So I would like to hope that we shall learn a lesson. Prepare. We are going to host AFCON. Let us prepare starting yesterday. And then when AFCON comes, there's no need for panic. It is cheaper, it is more effective.
All right, talking about preparation for AFCON, the Minister of Education and Sports actually told the Committee of Parliament today that they were supposed to get 2.1 trillion shillings in the next budget to start activities for AFCON, but this money has not been provided for in the national budget. And that's the reality on the ground. Let's go to the Honorable Minister Godfrey Kabyanga, NAM and the G77 plus China summit.
I'm happy. First of all, I'm happy that all the panelists believe that it's good to host such a very important.
Well, there's nothing to argue
summit.
about there. We all believe it's a good thing.
That one I'm happy with my brother Tekule, that all of us agree.
Have you been in some places where people have told you that it's not good for us to be hosting?
Yeah. No, obviously, when you go to social media, you get me. I'm a Minister of Information, so I go to different platforms and I receive so many comments. But what I'm saying, I'm happy that all of us as Ugandans now, we are happy that we are going to host these summits. They're very good, as you have enumerated. We have to enhance our diplomatic reputation. We have to globally, we must this is to show off the country visibility. It's very important because nearly all the media houses are here, just as you have said. So we need to showcase our country, and all those feedbacks which you are giving, I'm taking note of them. And then from the economic angle, this is time to do business. We must network. Because your networks are...
You can't network when you're still planting grass for the visitors to find.
Planting grass...
Let us be realistic. You cannot.
It has nothing to do with grass.
Honorable Minister, maybe let's ask this question.
Planting grass.
Let's ask this question. In terms of strategizing for this country, do we have a high-level committee that looks at how the country prepares for these kinds of meeting, how we can market the country abroad to be able to get investors and tourists? Are we really prepared? Have we learned a lesson from other countries? For instance, like South Africa.
There is a committee, and
Kenya.
The National Organizing Committee is there, and sincerely,
is it a standing committee?
There are so many side events that will take place where we shall do a lot of networking. There's a business forum, for instance, which will
start on Monday.
Exactly. There is a women
side event,
investments
also,
which will take place. So the private sector can join those all those seminars, conferences, and forums for networking. It's time for us really network and attract investment. And obviously, the tourism sector, Uganda Tourism Board, has been on standby to see how they can showcase all our tourism
Attractions
destinations.
like the potholes, which you people said tourist attractions.
Leave the potholes,
potholes.
alone. There are so many other things which you can showcase.
Mm.
And the potholes, yes, are there, and it's a problem in the city, which we are living with. But there are so many other things which we can showcase.
But Ken, through you, let me ask, Honorable Minister, you people, I mean, as cabinet, where is the problem? Why are we always ill prepared for these things, yet we know well in advance that we're going to host them? Why can't you guys ever sit down and strategize and do advanced planning instead of embarrassing us as a country? Because now people think Ugandans are disorganized. Some of us are organized people. We're not like you who are in government. So you're embarrassing us, and then why can't you just plan ahead? You have the money, you have the power, plan ahead. What is the problem?
Ask the private sector to take the lead.
Yes.
Tegule, we are also organized as organized as you are. So when you say some of us are not disorganized like you people, we are organized.
So,
and
because you're still planting grass.
we are doing everything possible to see that
And
everything
repairing roads.
Yes. What's wrong with repairing roads?
No, this thing should have
What's
been
wrong
done
with
long
repairing
ago, long ago.
First of all,
this last minute
all
rush
these countries
doesn't
you are
benefit
talking
anybody.
about, Qatar and whatever, they have a big resource envelope.
No,
You
they
can't-
just have organized teams.
Let's allow
Organized minds.
Let's allow the minister
You
to
know,
explain.
that's the problem why I sometimes don't come for talk shows. my biggest problem.
You're
is
protected,
I-
Honorable Minister.
As Minister of National Guidance,
Mm.
I discuss in a civil way.
All right.
And when we are here, we are all leaders. And everything I get on some of these talk shows is feedback for me.
Mm.
Yes.
Honorable
I
Minister,
appreciate all your disappointment.
don't get out of your skin,
No,
please.
no. I'm not. And
He's Minister for National
you
Guidance,
have-
so he should take the fire.
I am. No, I take the fire. But,
It's part of
I
your job.
always want us to be very civil.
All right.
Whatever you are complaining about, we are also looking at it, and we regret some of the some of the issues. Don't say because I'm a minister, I'm happy with everything. Not at all. There are some things where I see that we would have done better here, but there are also some things which we are doing better that we should be appreciated for. Because even convincing the whole world to come here for NAM is good enough. But probably because our resource envelope was not so big like the Qatars and the like, we have been working in piecemeals. And it's also important to note here, what I've liked is that, as Sarah said, Entebbe Airport, we didn't work on it because of what?
Because of NAM.
Not at all. Even the flyover. These are projects which have been ongoing. Preparing the city.
The fear is when it comes to accountability, you are going to reflect those projects as part of NAM.
I don't think that one will come up.
And that's the perception
that's
the perception that has been created within the public.
The public should stand out and say, please, I think this no. I would love that.
But they'll be ignored.
I would love that. But all in all, we are ready to receive all the guests. At least we have prepared hotels where they will stay. The conference center is now ready to receive the guests. And we are boosting security to ensure they are secured. Indeed, we still have some few things which must be put in place, like we haven't repaired all the roads to reach that level which we wanted, but we have tried. And I would like to appeal to Ugandans that whatever loopholes you are seeing, please let us be Ugandans. Let us receive these guests, all of us, and make them comfortable. And Sarah here is saying, why do you sweep your house? No, even when you are wedding, you paint your house sometimes. When you wedded, I know you went and painted your house, not because your house was looking very ugly, but you had to paint it because that was something very, very important. So even us, there are some things which we are trying to upgrade so that really they look nice, because we are receiving guests. Yes, even in our villages, even start planting banana plants to receive guests and put flowers on top of them. It's not that the village is very dirty, but you want to show that at least you are receiving guests. You must look cleaner than you have been. But that doesn't mean there are no issues. Like you have brought up an issue here of Munyonyo and the press conference. I've taken note of it. And also as a person in charge of publicity, I see that there was something missing. And that's good. Those are feedbacks which we do what? Which we really want. But all in all, NAM is very good. Leave the other negative things you are looking at. But when the guests come here, do networking. Strike deals. It's not only government which will strike deals. Even you in the civil society, there will be so many people here. Look for them and strike deals with them. That's what we want. We are creating for you an opportunity to do business, to network, to make friends. Do it. Leave the potholes alone. The potholes are there. But come and
you see the reason why
the potholes won't stop you from reaching
the reason why people will not leave the potholes alone, because it's the only opportunity the country can get to get a facelift.
The country will continue working on the potholes even after now. But I think what I'm taking seriously here is, for instance, we have AFCON. We have to prepare early. And early preparedness is very, very important. And that's what we are lacking, I think, as a country. That one I appreciate. I cannot defend the nation over that. But sometimes it's because our resource envelope is what? Is limited. So we know what to do, but we may not be having the resources to do them. And just as you have said, we are all praying that probably all this money that has been given to do specific things, they really do them.
All right.
And they are not squandered.
Very quickly, we have comments coming in from the listeners. Good evening. Question to Honorable Minister Kabyanga: could the government open Facebook at least to please the visitors? That is Sharif with that very comment. People are going to come here, they will not be able to access Facebook to post pictures of Uganda as part of the marketing approach. Can you reopen Facebook for that particular
related Facebook? Usually when we are going to other countries, we receive a logistical note, even warning us of things that are not possible in the countries we are going to. The minister could also inform Ugandans if they can't open Facebook. Have they notified the delegates that Facebook is closed in Uganda?
Well, we have comments. Let's be Ugandans, says the minister. We want to be Ugandans, even in the absence of visitors. Very depressing how little the ordinary citizen in this country is valued by its governors. Somebody saying allow them also to be Ugandans, even when the visitors are not here. Then we have another comment. Finally, Mr. Sewanyana has said it. Is there NAM in Jinja, NAM in Katanga, Arua, Sese Island, Mitiana, Busia, Kisoro? Not only NAM, we must nationalize every drive the country undertakes. What kind of music, food, wares, etc. In order to showcase the potential of the country. That's a comment from Henry Chiwenda. Then we have another comment here. Good evening, Spectrum. This is quite an interesting topic. Now regarding the hosting these national events, here are my thoughts for discussing. How did Uganda benefit from hosting CHOGM and any other international events? Is there some economic analysis done? Several African countries have hosted the AFCON, including South Africa, but according to a BBC report, the stadium and hotels are empty. They seem to be like one of events after all that infrastructure development. How does my grandmother from Terego benefit from all this? Are other sectors appropriately prepared to benefit from these events? Hosting events disrupts social systems for especially the staff in the informal sector. How do we strategically balance between merits and demerits? That's a comment there from Albert listening to us. Peter in Mubende, I don't expect to see any value added to Ugandans during this summit meeting. Instead, we shall hear alarms of bribes and mismanagement of finances, intrigued arrests and imprisonment of some people. The previous Chogam summit taught us a lot. The office of the then Prime Minister was in the limelight. Masaba Joseph, listening in from Lagos, says, we welcome the summit, but this government, Papa and this government papad and has bugu type of doing things. That's what he chooses to say in his own words there. Prince Haika writes in and says, the president is here to stay and possibly transfer power to his son, peacefully or forcefully. And in order to do this, he needed people who he had hope in, but who can never jeopardize these arrangements. In summary, we need people who will serve. He needs people who will serve his interests, and those are the people he has appointed. And that comment is in reference to the Electoral Commission. Ompkelo Patrick Bonyo from Busega, NAM is good for those organizing it because it's an opportunity to get kickbacks. Then there will be arcades rising after the summit. Question to the panelists, what is the role of NAM in the whole stage? Of what benefit is NAM to Ugandans? Does the member countries contribute for its preparation to host? Let me hope hosting NAM will somehow improve us economically. Very quickly, let's sum up our discussions as we come to the end of this show, and I'll begin with you, Mr. Gawaya Tegule. What's your take home as we draw towards the end of this interface?
No, I think I'll still go back to the whole issue of this country, that this is our country, whether there is a NAM summit or G77 plus China and all this kind of stuff. I think we need to see a country that is well managed, it is well run. The government should be responsive to the needs of the people, regardless of whether they have visas or not. I think we also need to see strategic planning being learned on the side of government. I mean, plan strategically. It's not about, I don't think the Honorable Minister would be correct to say that it's because of little resources. I think we have the resources. Just a lack of planning that has gripped us, and I think because people spend most of the time bargaining before Mr. Museveni who should take which deal, and then the poor old man is busy trying to patronize, so okay, you take this one, you take the other one, you take the other one, and then in that process time is lost. And then we lose out on so much, because these events are really run by the mafia, by the deep state, and for me that's a disappointment. If we want to develop this country, we must improve our systems and structures and make use of them.
All right, one comment coming in from Cecilia, who says, with due respect, let us agree that government and its spokespersons have not done enough to educate the masses about these big summits. All the news bulletins that have been shared in the media only talk about the number of ambulances for emergency, ready roads, and police banning over 100 border stages from working along these routes. How does the Wananchi benefit beyond the geopolitical issues? And Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, as we come to the end of this show, your take home and what you would like the government to hear and the people out there from this kind of discussion we have had today.
Just to reiterate the necessity for increased citizen participation in national processes. To a large extent, they are normally seen as restricted to a privileged club. And I think that is not good for a country. If we are going to work towards socio-economic transformation, then opportunities must be spread out. To a large extent, opportunities are increasingly, as I say, restricted to a privileged few. Secondly, I think the ministers agreed that the level of preparedness, I think, deserves attention. We should do more in terms of getting organized for such events, but also creating awareness. We really need to create awareness. I think the commentator who talks about ways is NAM here, NAM there, NAM there. I think what he's wondering or she's wondering
Trickle-down effect
is, yes, what is the trickle-down effect of all this? Because much as you may be talking about a side event, you talk about a business forum, again, you are still talking about a very small group of people who continuously monopolize whatever goes on in this country, and the majority remain onlookers. Ugandans should not be onlookers in their own country. We all deserve to be involved, to be informed, to be included, and as such, that is the role of the state. The state must always be mindful that the obligation of the state is to enhance the dignity, the rights of the people, ensure inclusivity, and leave no one behind.
Dr. Sarah Birete.
Two issues. One for me is the Palestine-Gaza conflict. Beyond the Cold War, NAM was, affirmative or unequivocal in supporting the independence of Palestine through a two-state solution. But gradually, the voices in support of Palestine went lower. As Uganda assumes chairmanship, can we hear the position of NAM? For example, is NAM summit able to throw their behind towards the South Africa petition against the ongoing genocide in Gaza? Can they collectively give the world a position on what's happening in Gaza today, because that has been their critical constituency over time? The second issue for me on the value for money is the taxpayers' investment in Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort. The government of Uganda bought shares in Munyonyo in 2007 during the preparation for CHOGM. And since we have the government spokesperson here with us, can he tell Ugandans through this platform how much dividend has Munyonyo ever paid for the taxpayer?
All right. Honorable Minister, you'll have the final say on this program today, and very quickly, in a few seconds, if you can respond to some of these issues.
First of all, I would like to thank all the listeners for all their comments, and they have been good comments. Some I'm taking them as feedback. But I think we have all agreed that there are some benefits from now, and I think the problem now is the trickle down benefit to reach the common person. But automatically there are some. We did a bit of publicity from the beginning, and there are already delegates who have arrived, and they are going to visit tourism destinations. Have some who have gone to Queen Elizabeth,
all right,
some Makijun, some have gone to Jinja, and there are some who will remain here. So we are upping our publicity so that some can remain here and reach all those destinations.
All right.
But obviously there are also some who need souvenir. These our women and men who are in handcrafts, they should really
be able to make some money. Okay.
Then the issue of the investment in Speak Resort Munyonyo. I think what you should first of all ask is whether it's making profit, because you can't get dividends if there are no
profits.
Probably we should first carry out an audit.
All right.
And find out whether there is. Actually, we are still investing in more so that we can have a magnificent conference hotel, and then we can start making money.
All right, I'm afraid time is not our best ally. We have to bring this discussion to an end. Let me thank you very much, my dear panelists, for making time to share your views with Ugandans out there. And thank you very much, dear listener, for actually contributing your views to this discussion. It has been a fruitful discussion, and we really hope that from this discussion, so many things can be learned. Like the Honorable Minister said, there are certain things that he takes as feedback back to government in terms of planning and organizing future conferences. So from Radio 1 FM 90, the entire production team of Spectrum Extra, I've been your host, Kenneth Lukwago Anderson, wishing you a good weekend.
Spectrum Extra on Radio 1 FM 90. An extra hour of analysis and discussion of the topical issues of the week. Brought to you by Housing Finance Bank, a financial institution regulated by Bank of Uganda. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of this radio station or its management.